So we've got our first table, the table about employees, in our very first query, a query that pulls up the information about the sales department employees. In order to do something a little more interesting, we're going to need some more data to work with. So I'm looking for information about the equipment that we might have as part of our company. I know exactly where this information is. It's in an Excel spreadsheet. And rather than recreating the entire thing from scratch by defining field names and choosing data types and then laboriously copying all of the data from one location to another, I'm just going to steal it. I'm going to go out to External Data and click on the button that says Excel. And then I just have to show it where that data is. I left it on my desktop, and there it is. So it's somewhere in this 201 equipment.xlsx file. And you can see there are some various options here to create a new table, to add the data to an existing table, or to link it, which means that when somebody changes it in Excel, it will change in Access and vice versa. But in fact, I'm going to leave it at the default, import the source data, a static copy of it into the database, and I'm going to tell it OK. So it opens up a wizard that looks at the contents of the spreadsheet, and there are 3 different pages in that spreadsheet. One is called Systems. So I'm going to leave it at Systems. I mean, I can check the assignments, but it's a Systems I want right now. So I'm going to leave it at Systems and go to Next. Now it's guessing that the first row contains column headings. That puts the text company serial number, instead of leaving it as a record, it puts it up as kind of a column header, which, as you know, will become a field name. And so yes, the first row does contain column headings, and we can go to Next. Now, field by field, it looks at the data and tells me what type of data it thinks it is. So system unit, for example, it sees as text, and price, it's assuming is some sort of number. It's choosing a double type number. So you can go bit by bit, column by column, to look at the data types and so on and so forth. I've actually already examined the options here. I'm satisfied with what it's choosing right now, and so I'm going to go to Next. Now, we've already talked about the importance of a primary key, which guarantees that each record in the table is unique. It's a unique identifier. And by default, Access is willing to throw on its own little code, which it's going to call ID, and it's just going to number them from 1 up until it runs out of numbers. But I don't want this unique ID that it's manufacturing for me. Instead, I happen to know that the company serial number is the unique identifier. D123 is only this HPNV system unit. And down here, the L123 is the Acer Chromebook, and C123 is the Apple iPhone. So these already have unique identifiers. I'm going to choose my own primary key, choose the company serial number, and go to Next. Finally, it wants to know what I'm going to call this particular table, and I don't see anything wrong with calling it Systems. So I'm going to leave it as Systems. I've got this habit, though, from back in the day when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was a student, of using a 3-letter tag at the beginning that identifies this as a table. It's called the Lizinski naming convention. It's not required, but if you move on to later database projects, you might go back and look up who Lizinski was and what this 3-letter code does. So I'm going to choose TBL Systems and then tell it to finish. I don't need to save the import steps. I'm going to hit Close. And now I have 2 tables. If I open up Table Systems, I can see it's pulled the company serial number, the system unit, the price, and so on and so forth. In fact, there are 29 different records. I can scroll through the records down here. I can go to the very last record, the very first record, and so on and so forth. But we don't normally work with the records in the tables themselves. So I'm going to switch to Design View. Let me go back to the Home tab on the ribbon. Look at Design View. Here I can see each of the field names and what data type it is and so on and so forth. And I would actually like you to change the price. Right now, price is defined as a number. And it is a number. But it's a special type of number. It's a currency type number. That changes slightly the way that the mathematics are done, and I'd like you to come down here and change the format of that number to currency as well. So to cap that, I've gone to the Design View, I've chosen at the top the field called price, changed the data type to currency, and while the price field is still selected, I've gone down to the field properties in the bottom, also changed the data type to currency. Now I'm going to switch to the data sheet view, the surface view, to see what changes that's made. It's going to warn me that I need to save the table and warn me again, you've changed the data type, which may in fact change the data. So if we'd had a really big number like 1.35796 where there were lots of decimals after the decimal place and we changed it to currency, it would either round or truncate that data, and you might lose a little bit of the accuracy. I happen to know that it's not losing any accuracy, so I'm going to go ahead and choose yes. I'm going to continue. And when I look on the surface, I can see now that the price has been reformatted with 2 decimal places after the decimal point, and I am content with what I see. So we've imported the table systems, modified the table in design view, examined the results. I'm going to go ahead and close this table for now. The next thing I'd like to do is to create another query, a query based on that table about systems. Specifically, I'm looking to create a query in design view, query design, there it is, and it's based on the table about systems. So I'm going to add that table and close the show table window and stretch things out so I can see a little bit better. And I'm looking to get a list of the system unit. I'd like to know what the operating system is. I'd like to know what the processor name is and the speed. And while I'm at it, I might as well go ahead and throw in information about the RAM and the storage and the price. So I'm going to then look at the surface for a second. There it is. This is all of my systems. Doesn't include the little serial number, the company serial number, but it includes the basic data. But I'm trying to get specifically a list of systems that are bargain systems. So let's get a list of systems that cost less than, what do you think? What's bargain? Less than $800? Let's look at $800 systems. All right, let me look at the surface here. Well, we actually have 18 different systems that are less than $800. It's still not really in order though, so I'm going to go ahead and sort these things as well in order, ascending order, by the price. That's not quite what I meant to do. All right. And the surface will look like this. So you can go ahead and save this query as QRY bargain systems. And that would be page 2 of our Access database.